Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 2 of the Wave Podcast. Now, last episode we got over 100 views, which, by the way, thank you all so much for showing all the love that you did on that episode. I think this episode you're going to enjoy just as much, if not more. So, really and truly, without any further ado, let's get right into it. So, the first thing I want to do in this episode is play as the GM of the New Orleans Saints and try to see what they can do this offseason. When you look at the team, it's very old. This team is not young at all. The youngest player on this team is probably Spencer Rattler. That's not bad for your future quarterback to be your youngest player. But for the rest of the roster, there is talent, but it's old talent. So I think what we're going to try to do here is try to brighten the future a little bit for New Orleans. So I think the first thing we need to do is look at the cut candidates for this offseason. And I think when you look at the three that are potential cut candidates, there's Cam Jordan, Taysom Hill, and Derek Carr. Now, if you really wanted to keep one of those guys on the roster, I think Cam Jordan should be the guy that stays because this man's just been a New Orleans Saint his whole entire life. Might as well just let him finish out his career as that. As for the other two, Taysom Hill, he will be missed. He's a fan favorite. I'm sure he can do just as good somewhere else. But with Derek Carr, I think his time in New Orleans is over with. So the one guy that I would keep is Cam Jordan. Just let him finish out his career as a New Orleans Saint to, thank him for all the years that he's given us. So going into the draft with the 9th overall pick, the report that Abdul Carter is having surgery intrigues me a little bit. Now, I don't think he's going to fall that far to 9 overall, but we have seen where players like him, who were projected to be a top 5 pick, fall all the way down to top 10. So if that could happen, I think New Orleans, is a no-brainer. They have to go Abdul Carter at number 9 if he were to fall. But we still need help on the O-line. And if Abdul Carter does go in the top 3 or top 5, which everybody is projecting him to go, I think we need to take Campbell as one of our tackles because sure, Trevor Penning did have an improved season this year, but there's a lot of inconsistencies in his game. His footwork is not that good. His frame is very loose. When you watch him play, he's almost loose. He's not standing there like a brick wall, if you know what I mean. Defenders are getting by him majority of the time. Now, this season, it wasn't as bad as it was prior to this season, but it was still noticeable to the point where he still needs help in that area. So I think if Abdul Carter is there, we take him at number 9. But if he gets taken top 5, I don't see why we won't go Campbell in that instance. Now, in free agency, I've kind of thought about this a little bit. There have been reports that New Orleans did talk to Cam Ward prior to the NFL draft, but I just don't think giving up a huge haul to go into at least the top 3 is worth drafting a quarterback that's not generational. So I don't think it's worth it. I think New Orleans should stay at number 9. But for free agency, I think if we let go of Derek Carr and Taysom Hill, try to restructure some contracts, I think we can sign Justin Fields to at least a proven deal. Now, I know Spencer Rattler should be the starting quarterback if Derek Carr leaves. But I think if you get Justin Fields in there and, show Spencer how we're supposed to play or how you want to play with a quarterback, I think it'll entice him to be even better than Justin Fields. And hey, if that means bringing in Justin Fields to motivate Spencer Rattler to be our starting quarterback next season, I think that could work out for us. Honestly, sure we may have wasted a contract or whatever, but if Spencer Rattler can be our next future quarterback, I think it's worth going after someone like Justin Fields. But if it's not Justin Fields, I like, and this may sound a little crazy, but I think we could finagle our way into T. Higgins. Now, it is a stretch. It is a huge, huge stretch. But when you look at last year when Spencer Rattler started, his weapons were awful. Sure, when MVS was starting for us, he was our best wide receiver. He was having crazy games. I mean, I'm pretty sure he caught a touchdown in almost every single game, if not majority of his games that he started. But when MVS is your number one wide receiver and Kendre Miller is your running back one, you're just not going to have a whole lot of success in that offense. Not to mention the O-line was terrible towards the end of the year. I mean, we dealt with injuries in the trenches like all year long. So with Spencer Rattler, I think you have to have a healthy offensive core and get a at least decent O-line to make him better. And I posted a TikTok about this earlier in the day. Go follow, by the way, the Wave Podcast. If they can just get those type of guys in the trenches that can at least just hold their defender for just a little bit longer, I think this man could put up a 4,000-yard season. He has the arm talent. He has the legs. And I mean, if you miss out on Justin Fields, which ain't the end of the world, and try to go out and get somebody like T. Higgins, again, very large stretch. But if you can do that and bolster this offense, I mean, you can make Spencer Rattler an amazing player. You could almost win the division. But then again, Tampa Bay is, surprisingly good. Nobody really thought Baker Mayfield was going to come in and change the culture like he did in Tampa Bay after Tom Brady left, but he did. So I think that's the only competition that we'll have in the division. Sure, the Panthers looked decent towards the end of the year, but I want to see that for a full season before I can make my judgment on Carolina. So I think we need to target Justin Fields to not only entice Spencer Rattler, but to make our quarterback room even more talented. And then our home run hit, T. Higgins, if we can find a way to get the money right, if we can find a way to, pry him away from Cincinnati because he is adamant about coming back to Cincinnati, I think that could help us out a lot, especially with Spencer Rattler's development. So that's what I would do if I was New Orleans. It's pretty much prioritizing Spencer Rattler's development, trying to get Spencer Rattler as our future quarterback of the foreseeable future. And hopefully he can be our starting quarterback for a very long time, because us having 8 starting quarterbacks and counting since Drew Brees left is stupid. It really is stupid. So going back to the draft, with Tennessee, there's been a lot of questions on what they should do with the number 1 overall pick. To me, there's 2 options they can go with. They could either, 1, draft Cam Ward and solidify their franchise quarterback for the foreseeable future, or, and this is what I would do, trade it. Trade the number 1 overall pick. Because you got quarterbacks that are going to be in free agency that you could probably pry away from their other teams and B, you wouldn't have to worry about the rookie experience pretty much. So I would almost trade the number one overall pick. And the team that I think that would trade the number one overall pick, I think it would be Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas would probably have to give up a lot to get the pick, but I think it almost makes sense for Las Vegas to go up to number one. Now, they'd be jumping up a lot just to draft Shedeur Sanders, but if that is their guy and they think that he is worth the number one overall pick and he's worth a haul, why not do it? I mean, he led FBS in 74% completion percentage, and I mean, he just made plays. When he needed to make plays, he made plays. The only thing that concerns me is that he got sacked 94 times, and most of those times were his fault because he scrambled out of the pocket way too early, ran straight into the defender, and pretty much just put his team in deficits that he didn't need to do that. He didn't need to make a play or anything. But other than that, I think if Las Vegas is convinced that Shedeur Sanders is the number one overall pick and their guy for the foreseeable future, and I mean, hey, he's been clamoring for it for however many months now. I mean, every time they lost this season, he tweeted out, "Thank God," because it bolstered their odds of getting the number one overall pick. I mean, too bad they were winning games towards the end of the season, but I think Las Vegas makes a lot of sense to trade up to number one. And Tennessee goes back to 5. I mean, they could get Abdul Carter if they really wanted him. Travis Hunter if he slips to 5, which I don't think he will. I don't think he'll drop out of 3. If they wanted to get crazy and draft Ashton Genty, hey, why not? But I think it makes more sense for Tennessee to trade the number one overall pick and get a huge haul for the number one overall pick and just solidify your future from there on out. Now, sure, you'll still have to deal with Will Levis as your starting quarterback if you can't get any free agent quarterbacks to come to your team and pretty much be a bridge quarterback for the next draft. So, yeah, I think that's what Tennessee should do with the number one overall pick. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if they kept it, took Cam Ward, said, hey, this is going to be our franchise guy for the foreseeable future. I don't think they could do any wrong in this scenario, pretty much. Now, going over to the NBA, we've kind of seen a shift in the Los Angeles Lakers. After they traded for Luka Doncic, they were struggling for a little bit, especially Luka. Luka was very not himself when he first came to Los Angeles. I think when he got traded, it really did a number on him. He was shocked like everybody else was, but I think he took it a little harder than most people because he wanted to finish his career in Dallas. And all of a sudden they were like, nah, we cool. We cool. We don't want you no more. Like, bro, what? Why are you trading me away? I didn't even ask to be traded. But these last couple games, the Lakers have almost looked like contenders. They're invested on defense. The offense looks smooth. It's looked amazing all year. Not to mention LeBron has gotten even better this year, especially with the jump shot. I mean, this man is almost shooting 40% from 3. He hasn't done that since the 2013 season when he played for Miami. I mean, this team just looks like they are more bought in than what they were before the trade. They're more bought in on defense. Even with when they had Anthony Davis and when they were a good defense, they weren't as bought in. But ever since they got Luka, they've been bought in, and I promise you, I think JJ Redick is putting in their heads that they can beat anybody, and really and truly, it looks like they can. With OKC looking a little fraudulent, I think if they match up with OKC, who's to say they can't beat OKC in 6? Who's to say that? Now, sure, Jackson Hayes would be on an island against Chet Holmgren, but when you've got like 3 ball handlers on the same team with Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, LeBron James, where they're all on the field making plays for one another, what are you going to do about that? You can't do anything about that. One man is making another man wide open. The other man is setting a screen for the other man to get him even more wide open. I mean, the ball is constantly moving. If you watch them against the Nuggets, that ball was just bouncing back and forth from player to player to player to player to player. Not even the Denver Nuggets. Whenever you watch them play against Dallas, I mean, that ball was just flying all over the court to go from a good shot to an even better shot. That's what makes this offense very elite. They don't settle for the good shots. They want the great shots that are high percentage shots that most people would not try to go for because the good shot is there. Why not just take it? But with this Lakers team, they're always looking for that extra pass, looking for that extra man that is wide open. They play like this weird 4 out, 1 in, where Jackson Hayes is sitting on the block waiting for the lob. I like that because it keeps the defense on their toes. When you watch them against Dallas, there's this one play where LeBron and Luka were passing it back and forth to each other. Luka was in the post, just trying to find the mismatch. And Luka and LeBron were just passing it back and forth to each other, where finally PJ Washington broke off of LeBron, doubled up Luka. Luka passed it back to LeBron, hit the jump shot. I mean, when you got an offense like that, you can't stop it. Not to mention that LeBron is bought in on defense. I mean, it's not as, as elite as you would think it would be. But I mean, the man is 40 years old. The fact that he's still wanting to buy in on defense should be a win on its own. With Luka, though, I mean, we all know he can't play defense. So with everybody else buying in on defense, I think it helps Luka out a lot. And that's what helped him in Dallas. That's what helped them make a finals run. He had all these defenders around him that bought in, that knew their role, and that's how they got to the NBA Finals. Sure, they didn't pose like a threat to Boston or anything like that, but that was the only reason I wouldn't say it's the only reason, but that was the main reason why they got to the finals, is because everybody bought in on defense and everybody was just accepting their role. And you could see that with the Lakers these last couple games. I mean, Rui's bought in, Austin Reeves is bought in, LeBron is bought in, Jackson Hayes is bought in. Jackson Hayes is looking like a pretty good defender at center. I mean, sure, he doesn't have the body or the frame to bang with like these bigger center guys, but you can just tell that he wants to be out there on the floor. He wants to play his hardest because he knows, like, hey, I may not get this opportunity again. They're probably going to look for my replacement in the offseason, try to find a bigger body dude who can play defense. So why not just outplay the guys that are on the roster right now, and maybe I get paid this offseason by somebody else. So the question is, are the Lakers contenders? It's a hard question to answer because these last 10 games, they are 8-2. But some of the teams have not been that good. They've had very convincing wins against Mavericks and the Nuggets. But I'm sure that teams out west are looking at this team and are saying, I don't think we want to play them in the playoffs. Just by watching their offense, it's so fluent. And I think that's what the Los Angeles Lakers have been missing for years, is that fluent offense. And sure, health has been a concern for the last couple of years too. But when you have a fluent offense like this and guys buying in on defense, that is what makes teams go on this huge run, and then end up in the NBA Finals like Dallas did last year. So are the Lakers contenders? In my eyes, yes, they are contenders. They have convinced me that they are contenders and that every single one of them are bought in and they're ready to make a run. Now, tonight we have a pretty big game. Cavs versus Celtics preview. Now, the last 6 games, the Cavs have been undefeated ever since getting DeAndre Hunter, who's been amazing at accepting his role on the Cavs. I mean, this man is knocking down every shot that he gets. He's been a great, honestly, he's probably their best third option on offense, for sure, outside of Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. The defense is amazing. He adds even more defense to this very impressive defensive team. And I think this makes the Cavs even better. Because when you get a guy like DeAndre Hunter for little to nothing, in my opinion, and he's playing the way that he is right now, I mean, my gosh, that's a championship move right there. When a team that is already number one in their conference and they go out and make a move like this, it just shows how committed they are to the window that they have open right now. Cleveland is ready to win a championship without LeBron. And I think they're more determined than they have ever been, especially last year, which I think was kind of a disappointing year for them. I think they should at least make the ECF. But guys just weren't playing at this high of a level like they are right now. And with them being the number one team in the East, probably going to finish with the best record in the NBA, it just looks like a different team than last year. And like we said about the Lakers, it looks like everybody's bought in. They know what's at stake. They know that this may be their only opportunity to compete for a title. Because, like I also made a TikTok about Boston whenever they played the New York Knicks, how Boston just humiliated them, made them look like a G League team. This may be the only season that the Cavs have to, excuse me, make a real run at a championship. Because Boston's not going to go anywhere. Indiana is slowly getting better. And Milwaukee, they still have Giannis. As long as they have Giannis, in my eyes, they'll always be contenders. So Cleveland, this is their last, I wouldn't say their last, but probably their only opportunity for a long time to go out and win a championship without LeBron. Now, obviously, they are talented enough to beat Boston, but I don't know if they can beat Boston in a 7-game series. Boston just has this thing about them where they can adapt to anything that happens in the game. If their threes are not going down, they'll attack the paint. They'll attack the rim. They'll get easy shots at the rim. It don't matter who it is. It could be Derek White, Kristaps Porzingis, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday. It don't matter. It really does not matter. This team adapts to everything that happens on the court, and they are probably the most intelligent team in the NBA right now. If the season were to end right now, they would be shooting the most threes per game in NBA history. And they're hitting them at a very high clip, too, which is scary because this team is a very good mid-range team, too. So if they're already hitting threes at a very high rate and they can't, if they find themselves in a situation to where they can't hit those threes and they go to the mid-range, they're already elite at that, too. So in order to beat the Celtics, I think you have to be the Celtics, in my opinion. You have to play their way, but you have to play better than them. And that is easier said than done because not only is the Celtics team a good offensive team, but they're amazing on defense too. They will smother you to the point to where you change your offensive playbook. Against the Knicks, we watched as the Knicks were trying to run plays for Brunson and Cat, and it got to the point to where you look up and they've reverted to Jalen Brunson on an ISO, or Cat is catching the ball at the top of the key and just shooting it because they know they can't get into the paint. I watched Cat 3 possessions in a row try to back down literally anybody, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't get to the rim. Every time he got to the rim, missed it every single time. Cat is just not he's a good post player, but he's not a very good post player. And when you are reverting to him taking shots at the top of the key, now sure, he is a very good 3-point shooter for his size. Probably the best 3-point shooter probably the best 3-point shooting center we have ever seen. But when that becomes your second option in an offense against a team like the Boston Celtics, they will take that 9 times out of 10 and they will run with it. And they did. Even when New York was making that little run to close in on the window, Boston answered it like that. That's what I'm saying with this Boston team. They can adapt to any situation that happens on the court. So in order for the Cavs to beat the Boston Celtics, not even tonight, but on like a 7-game series, you have to be the Boston Celtics. Again, that is easier said than done, and you have to be better than the Boston Celtics. Again, easier said than done. So for tonight, I think Boston comes out with a win. I think they come out with a statement win like they did with New York, and they show the world we may be number 2 in the East, but we still run it. So it don't matter who is number 1, who's number 5, who's number 8. We're going to run through them, and we're going to be back-to-back champions. Now, as I'm recording this on Friday, the Friday edition of Friday Night SmackDown has not aired yet. But last Friday, we saw at the end on SmackDown where The Rock and Cody Rhodes had this weird segment where at the end, The Rock is offering Cody Rhodes an offer that he can't refuse. An offer to where Cody Rhodes is here, but The Rock can take him here. But at the end of it, The Rock says something kind of off. The Rock wants Cody Rhodes' soul. Now, there is some speculation that there will be a heel turn for Cody Rhodes. And honestly, I think it should. I think there should be a heel turn. I think Cody Rhodes should join The Rock and become like this big heel partnership where The Rock is his manager up until WrestleMania, where I think The Rock turns on Cody Rhodes, costing him the title at WrestleMania, and then setting up a WrestleMania match for next year. But the way that they went about it on Friday night was very strange and very weird. But the press conference after that, I think it kind of explained it a little bit better. Because The Rock said it's not about the title. It's just about storytelling. And that's what it's always been about when Triple H took over. It's just long-term storytelling. And I think with Cody Rhodes' title run so far, it's been kind of stale. I mean, he hasn't had that real guy that is like oh, he can win this title. He could beat Cody Rhodes tonight. Sure, I guess you can make the argument for Solo, but then again, we all knew he's not going to lose to Solo. Solo, who I think has improved tremendously as a promo guy, as a wrestler, he's just not there yet. I think Jacob Fatu, if anybody could take out Cody Rhodes, I think Jacob Fatu is actually already ready to do that. But I think if you want to turn Cody Rhodes heel, this is the way to do it. Give the fans a reason to watch Cody Rhodes again. The whole reason why we wanted to watch Cody Rhodes a year ago was because we wanted him to finish the story. Now that he's finished the story, there's kind of been like this wall that he's hit, and now everybody wants the title taken off of him because it's just not been entertaining. It was more entertaining watching Roman Reigns take out the whole locker room than it has been with Cody Rhodes' title run, which is not that good. So I think if they want people to watch their WWE champion, you have to turn him heel. And I think Cody Rhodes should give up his soul to The Rock. Looking at the Elimination Chamber match, you've got a good amount of guys that could be good opponents for Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. You got Seth Rollins, you've got CM Punk, Damian Priest, who I think is getting a lot of heat for no reason. I mean, this man is amazing in the ring. And I think, him and Cody Rhodes would put on a good match. But I think the guy that should face Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, John Cena. I think John Cena and Cody Rhodes should main event WrestleMania. It could go along with the storytelling of The Rock wanting Cody Rhodes' soul. Now, like I said earlier, The Rock can be Cody Rhodes' manager up until WrestleMania, where I think he turns on Cody Rhodes to give John Cena the record-breaking title win. And then we set up this thing where John Cena defends his title against Randy Orton at like SummerSlam or something like that. But I think it should be John Cena. Honestly, I've always thought like throughout this whole farewell tour, it was going to end with John Cena winning his 17th world title. And I don't think there's a better situation or a better opportunity to set up this feud with Cody Rhodes with The Rock and continue that until next year's WrestleMania. But there's also another option. I saw on Twitter where somebody proposed that the favor that Roman Reigns owes to CM Punk could be cashed in at Elimination Chamber, where Roman Reigns breaks through the Elimination Chamber like Shawn Michaels did against The Undertaker and cost him the World Heavyweight title, where Roman Reigns attacks Seth Rollins, setting up a Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns WrestleMania match and giving CM Punk the win to face Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, where you could still have The Rock turn on Cody Rhodes and give CM Punk that main event moment that he's always wanted at WrestleMania. And I think that would be perfect, honestly. I really do think that would be perfect. But I think what they're going to do is go with John Cena and have him win his 17th world title and either defend it against Randy Orton when he becomes healthy or actually have a farewell tour and relinquish it on Monday Night Raw the following night, where you could have like probably one of the best Raws after WrestleMania ever with a tournament type deal or something like that. That was episode 2 of the Wave Podcast. If you like this, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you think about these topics in the comments below, and leave me some suggestions in the comments. maybe you want me to play GM for one of your favorite NFL teams, or you don't think the Lakers are contenders. Give me your reason why. Maybe you think the Cavs are actually better than the Boston Celtics. Just let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And until then, I'll see you all next week.